The following is a sports narrative special presentation.
And the pick is finally in. It's currently being brandished by some walkie-talkied individual, taking it up to the commissioner's podium. A big, humongous pick.
Now, to find out whose name is on that card, here is the commissioner, ready to make history.
With the first pick.
And welcome to another fine episode of the Draft Narrative Special. My name is Jeff Bowers. I am your congenial host this lovely Saturday morning as we are just a few days away from the start of free agency, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So, so we're going to get that thing up and running, and it's going to be a good time. So that obviously with its effects on the draft. So we're going to run through some of the free agents, the big free agents, and see where they might end up, make some wild predictions that will have absolutely nothing to do with what actually happens, because that's what we do here. And then, we'll talk a little bit about Justin Fields and some of the other stuff going on. But I'm not going to talk the whole time by myself. I'm going to talk with this guy, and his name is Darren Boyd. What's up, buddy?
Well, as you stated, we're only a few days away from Christmas, even though it's spring, and we're very excited. You and I both have owners, the Jets and the Dolphins, that aren't afraid to write big checks, so that always makes us excited at this time of year.
It is absolutely true, man. It is absolutely true, as we're going to be rolling it out here. And obviously what happens in free agency, basically every mock draft that you've seen up to this point is worthless. That's pretty much where we're at, is that everything that has been done, all of the time.
Even the one you put out.
Exactly. All of it, all the time and energy that's been wasted on this thing, absolutely useless, as, yes, we will, as teams will, of course, try to fill most of their gaps in free agency. And then, ideally, right, like the idea there, Darren, is that you get to free agent, or you get to the draft and you be able to take best player available because all of your holes are filled. Rarely happens, but that is the idea, right? Uh-oh. Did I lose you there?
We cut up for a second.
Oh, I was just
saying.
Yeah, I was just saying that, yes, the idea is you fill all your gaps within free agency so that you have no holes, so you can take best player available when you get to the draft, right? And nothing. All right. Oh, Darren, you're freezing up a little bit. Maybe I'll need you to reconnect there for just a second. In the meantime.
Hang on.
Yeah, you're good. So here, let me I'll mute you out and bring you back in just a minute as we get this live broadcasting here on YouTube. So let's talk a little bit about what's ahead of us in free agency, and I'm just going to run down the old list there and see what it looks like when it comes to these top free agents. So we're going to go off of our friends at theringer.com, those fine gentlemen who do great work over there. So let me see if I can pull that little page up. And there we are. There we are. So we're twisting and tweaking all the knobs here. So yeah, let's run it down, and I'll get Darren back on here in just a moment. But in the meantime, Chris Jones, number one free agent on the market. I fully expect he's going to return to Kansas City. I think the whole idea for them was to go ahead and trade L'Jarius Sneed, which, I think is eventually going to happen. And then they will, be able to re-sign Chris Jones. Couldn't really franchise tag him because he was making more than the franchise tag. And so... but obviously, an absolute guy who's going to be making, the absolute stud of that defense, who's going to be making, 30-some mil a year in that thing. Number two, Kirk Cousins, seemingly the belle of the ball in the quarterback class. We've talked a little bit about that on this show with what the free agent quarterback class is looking like, and it seems as though everybody's going to be waiting on Kirk, which is just wild, especially considering that Kirk Cousins has kind of been the definition of mediocrity in the last few weeks. Let's see if we've got old Darren back here. Darren, are you back?
We are back. We rebooted. I apologize about that.
Nah, you're good. No worries. All right, so we are rolling through the free agents. I mentioned Chris Jones. Now we're up to Kirk Cousins. Again, seemingly the belle of the ball of the quarterbacks. Everybody's kind of waiting on him.
Yeah, Jeremy Fowler this morning was saying definitely Atlanta is in play, like all the rumors. I think when he signs it,
oh, your connection is terrible, Darren.
Then that's going to...
There you go.
Oh, gosh.
Your Wi-Fi is crapping out, my man.
We'll set the market for the other quarterback dominoes to fall.
Yep. All right. Well, there he goes. Let's see if we can keep rolling here. Brian Burns, maybe the first guy, I mean, obviously outside of a quarterback, maybe the first guy who's going to be potentially on the move. Now, it would make all the sense in the world for Carolina to retain him. However, I don't think he wants to go back there. So, and Carolina wants a giant haul after trading all the way up to get Bryce Young last year and giving up their first-round pick, and which, was just number 1 overall. Don't worry about that so much. So, it's so that's a tough thing. So they're trying. I think they're asking for too much. I think eventually something will happen there. We'll see exactly how that's going to work itself out. So Brian Burns I think is going to be a fascinating one to watch. Josh Allen, he's been tagged. I think he retains with the Jags. And then one, Darren, close, near and dear to your heart, Christian Wilkins, who's definitely leaving you.
No doubt about that. I think the market was set yesterday, if you may have mentioned it while I was trying to reboot with the Ravens guy.
Yeah,
Christian Wilkins is going to get at least $98 to $100 million.
In fact, the next person down, Justin Matabuke, who just got a big bag. Dude, Wilkins, easily the best run-stuffing defensive tackle who also gives you pass rush, right? A team leader, a guy that everybody seemingly rallies around. I mean, the line forms to the left on a dude like that, and you've got teams with a ton of cap room, whether it's, potentially, the Bears, the Lions that have some room, the Texans I know will be involved, the Patriots obviously with the most cap room going. I've heard the Browns are sniffing around trying to see if he can fit there. Washington obviously would be a fit. So, yeah, he's about to get a big bag. He's going to – do you think Wilkins touches $30 million?
No. He'll get 22, 23. The reason the Dolphins didn't franchise him was that you have to carry that $22 million cap hold, and he would refuse to sign it until week 1. He's not going to report to camp.
Right.
So you got to carry that. That would have killed their free agency plans. They were trying to get a deal done to lower his cap number and, still get him paid. But he told, according to Omar Kelly, he told lots of players when he was end of the year, like, I'm done. See y'all. You're not going to franchise me. I'm out.
Matabuke re-signed. T. Higgins franchise. Do you think T. Higgins gets dealt?
No, that's my most head-scratching. Why would the Bengals do that? They got to pay that huge franchise tag for a guy that was a very pedestrian receiver last year, according to my numbers.
Well, I think, they're trying to keep it together. I think with Burrow back, they think that they're close. They think they're a Super Bowl contender. You keep him for one more year. But, this whole receiver market, and we're going to get to that as we get down to Calvin Ridley and some of the others in a minute, the receiver market has dried up drastically. And when you start looking around at what's going to be available, Mike Evans is re-signed. Like you said, Ridley's hitting the market, but that's really only just because Jacksonville has to not have to give up more draft compensation. The deal with him is in the trade with Atlanta, if they re-sign Ridley, they have to give up a second-round pick. If he's allowed to hit free agency and then they sign him, he's a third-round pick. So that they have to give up. And so that's just it might just be window washing. They might already have a handshake deal in place that, it hits 12:01 and he re-signs. but he's going to demand a giant bag of money because, again, the step down from him is huge. And so then you're going to have these pretty desperate teams. Now, luckily for everyone, the wide receiver class in this year's draft is epic. And I think you're going to see that those guys start climbing up as we go along for teams that need that other wide receiver. Guys in the second tier, not the top three of, Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Odunze. Those guys are all going to go quick. Easily, I would say in the top, what do you think, top 8, 7, 8? At 9 at the latest.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next tier down, you've got Brian Thomas, you've got your Adonai Mitchell, you've got those cats all in there. Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy. Yep. All of those guys are going to start moving their way up as, teams have that need that, again, they can't address in free agency. And then you also have what trades you're going to be able to have. Does Brandon Ayuk get traded? Does T. Higgins get traded? Does potentially Devontae Adams get traded? All that type of stuff. So, man, that is going to be a lot of fun there. Jalen Johnson re-signed with the Bears on a nice big fat deal for him, and also a little team-friendly. I thought that was a good signing for the Bears.
Yeah, that was a good signing both ways.
Antoine Winfield franchise tagged. Again, I think a good thing for the Bucks, and then maybe the next biggest free agent shoe to drop will be L'Jarius Sneed, tagged by the Chiefs. Looks like he's going to get traded. A lot of competition for that guy between Detroit, Philly, these teams that think they're close. Somewhere around a second-round pick and maybe some change should get that done. The Eagles have 2 second-round picks. Makes all the sense in the world, but will it happen? What do you think?
He's got a knee issue that's lingering out there too, so teams are going to want to get medicals on him big time.
For sure. Jonathan Grenard, I think it's weird that the Texans go ahead and drop a bag of money on Dalton Schultz. Relative for a tight end, but they're letting Grenard hit the free agent market. That seems odd. I think, we talk about those pass rushers, and in fact, up next is Danielle Hunter. Those second-tier pass rushers, I think, are going to be, like you say, in high demand, especially if Carolina's asking for a big bag of money for Brian Burns. If you're a team like, the Eagles or even the Lions, again, talking
Dolphins.
about those contenders, Dolphins, that could use that another pass rusher on the outside. I think those guys are going to be, again, in pretty high demand. And you've got those up-and-coming teams, Washington, obviously, with a new system, and Dan Quinn, what Chicago's trying to build and getting a compliment to Montez Sweat on the outside. Those guys. And, of course, Bryce Huff, which I'm sure is coming up here very soon, my Jets guy who's going to hit the free agent market and Why
are your Jets letting him go?
Well, the thing about it is with Bryce Huff, he's absolutely great, but he's a part-time player. A couple of years ago, when the Jets defense was pretty decimated with injuries, they had him out there start playing, defensive end all 3 downs, and he was terrible against the run. He's just not a run stuffer, right? He is a designated pass rusher only. He's a little like Hassan Reddick, right? He's not going to give you much in the run game. So I don't know that he's a 3-down player. So the Jets play him 50% of the time, bring him on for those plays, and he's, amazing off the snap and the percentages. But they're always scaled down because he only plays 50% of the time. And so do you hand a guy who plays 50% of your snaps $21 million potentially a season?
Nope.
Exactly. So I think that, and also, they drafted Will McDonald last year. I think that was a little bit of the hedge, knowing that Bryce Huff is going to get paid. Look, you let him, it's just like you and Christian Wilkins. Despite the fact that he's a great player, you let him walk, you get the compensation, you go about your business, right? Mike Evans, as we mentioned.
Compensatory picks. I wonder what those are. I'm a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, we'll get to those in just a minute. Mike Evans re-signed with the Bucks. Michael Pittman, franchised by the Colts. Now we got some defensive players. Xavier McKinney, the safety from the Giants. Man, I like him a lot. Again, dude, how many safeties are available this year? I mean,
my gosh,
that safety market is absolutely flooded with Bayer, Justin Simmons, who's coming up on the list, and by the way, should be way higher on this list in my opinion. And by the way,
Hoyer.
and yeah, Poyer, both the Packers safeties are available, and Savage, and I mean, so many safeties on the market. I think it's going to be, and it might push the cost down because as you see, as there's so much out there, I think there's a chance that those numbers get a little suppressed because it's supply and demand. You got a lot of supply, the price is going to come down.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think those guys are going to get. I think the safety market. It'll be interesting to see too. Again, with so much supply, how aggressive teams will be there. All right, let's run through some quick ones. Patrick Queen hitting free agency. I think your Dolphins would be a great fit for him. Obviously, as you're bringing over the Ravens, DC
Weaver.
Yep. I think him in Houston would be incredible, and upgrading their linebacking core. The thing with Queen is he's kind of a guided missile. He's a little bit like Quincy Williams is for my Jets, where if you've got when he had the vet, when he had Roquan sitting next to him, and he could just go in there and just blow things up, and then Roquan cleaned up the mess, right? That was perfect. But do you want that dude as the main guy? Because, of course, the reason they went and got Roquan in Baltimore was the fact that Queen, would take false steps, would miss things, all of this type of stuff. So I think that will be interesting to see where people think his role will be in a system. Is he the man or is he the other guy? So, because keep in mind, Quincy Williams.
I agree with your assessment 100%, and
Yeah.
I hate agreeing with you.
Quincy Williams signed for 3 for $18 million. He's making $6 million a year. Queen is going to make much more than that, I would expect.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Calvin Ridley, as we mentioned, the aforementioned. Leonard Williams, defensive tackle with Seattle. Okay, so now we get to some more quarterbacks. So after you clear Kirk Cousins, of course, we have the Justin Fields question, which we're going to get to in just a minute. And Baker Mayfield. Does Baker get away from Tampa?
I don't believe so. Mike Evans seemed pretty confident yesterday in his press conference that Baker would be coming back.
Yeah, I think they've made him some assurances there. I think you're right. And so once Cousin comes off the market and Baker re-signs, well then, and obviously whatever Russ is going to do, which, he has the visit with the Steelers. He had a quick, brief talk with the Giants, which I thought was interesting. I still think the Patriots are in play for Russ. As they have the Denver OC. That's where I'm putting my M&Ms down on is that Russ goes to the Patriots. What do you think? What's your prediction for Russ Wilson?
Well, it's very intriguing because he's guaranteed $39 million from the Broncos, so he can sign for the league minimum anywhere he wants. The question is, do teams view him as a player in decline? I mean, he's 35. Everyone got used to Brady, balling out in his 40s, and that's just an anomaly. That just doesn't happen. So Russell will have to go to a situation where he can, like you said, Pittsburgh. I know Mac Jones is on a trading block, allegedly. Of course, who wants him? Patriots would be a good fit, and we'd love that because we'd beat the Patriots twice a year anyway, so that'll keep the trend going.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so as we roll down a little bit further, we got Hollywood Brown, again, kind of that second-tier wide receiver. I think Arizona signs him. What's that?
So overrated.
I think Arizona re-signs him. I think they'll have that plus whatever they draft in the first round, whether it's Harrison or a
They can have him.
Yeah. And then let's get to the running back market real quick.
Oh, yes.
Again, much like safeties, there is a absolute ton of running backs out there. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift. I mean, just a ton of guys.
Derrick
Henry, yeah. Okay, so give me some predictions. Where do you think the top guys land?
Well, listening to Jeremy Fowler on the Darian Mel show today, he says it's pretty much set in stone that Derrick Henry's going to the Ravens.
Yep.
And he's blown away that there's lots of talk of Barkley going to the Cowboys because Jerry wants to make a splash. That would we haven't heard that because we live in Dallas, and that's not been speculated much outside of a fantasy. I don't see that happening, but I will never doubt Jeremy Fowler.
In fact, what I saw recently was the fact that the Cowboys were preferring to draft a running back as opposed to signing something to big money, because obviously their last few running back contracts haven't exactly worked out for them.
No.
So yeah, I think that's curious. I could see. So if I had to put my predictions down, we've also heard a lot of Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, which again just makes a lot of sense. So let's say, okay, so Derrick Henry to Baltimore. I'm going to say I like Josh Jacobs to the Texans.
Oh, that's a good fit.
I like Saquon to the Eagles.
I don't think Roseman's going to spend that big money running back because Barkley's going to want 10 or 12 million a year.
It's funny. I was seeing somebody on Twitter saying, the Eagles don't like to spend big money on runners. And I was like, you remember there was a certain Cowboys running back that got a big bag of money and played like 1 year? Now, maybe that is why they don't want to spend the big money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
just like the Cowboys franchising tag Pollard at $10.8 million a year when they could have probably gotten him for $5 million a year.
A couple more edge rushers: Chase Young, Bryce Huff, as we talked about Bryce Huff just a minute ago. All right, let's get to some offensive linemen here as Robert Hunt comes up on the screen.
You're hurting me today. You're just going after me because he's not going to be a Dolphin.
Just body blows, man. It's just like Joshua Ngannou, just over the top, boom.
Boom.
So
you chin checked me.
Exactly. So Robert Hunt, we saw what Kevin Dotson just got re-signing with the Rams for 3 for $48, basically $16 million a year. I expect Robert Hunt to, set the market like that as well, at that kind of price. And then everybody else kind of falls in behind. One of the intriguing ones I saw today, Darren, is that the Browns apparently want to make Wyatt Teller, their very good guard, available in trade as they're trying to get some more draft assets. Him and Greg Newsome. Now, Greg Newsome, a little bit disappointing, but, a functional, nice slot corner, I would say. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see what those, and then what else is going to shake free in the linebacker or in the offensive line market. Do the Packers release David Bakhtiari? We've already seen Tyron Smith come free from the Cowboys. How much do you trust that with the injuries? Michael Onwenu with the Patriots is going to, I think, command top of the market money for a right tackle. So we're talking $21 million a year. 4 for 84. I could see something like that. There's Kyle Duggar with the Patriots. Got the transition tag, which is the rarely used transition tag. The Lions losing both of their guards, which is fine because both of them aren't very good. There's Michael Onwenu that we just talked about. Again, looking like he's going to get a big bag of money. Josh Jacobs, Jonah Williams. Man, Jonah Williams does nothing for me.
I was going to ask you, he's so stubborn. Do you think he'd kick inside the guard?
Man.
But he'd take a huge pay cut, but I don't think anybody's going to pay him at tackle.
Well, he played left tackle and got Joe Burrow beat up, although he was fine. Then they replaced him with Orlando Brown, which that didn't work out much better. He moved over to right tackle, really wasn't any better. Man, look, there's a left tackle on the market, right? So, and he's young-ish. He's 26 years old. That's going to command some money, but if you're walking into a season with that dude, your starting left tackle, you don't feel real good about it.
I put him at left guard.
Okay, so another linebacker, we talked about Patrick Queen, Jordan Brooks. I think Jordan Brooks is going to get a big bag of money. I think he's now big bag of money for a linebacker, right?
Correct.
I think Brooks is a great fit in Houston. Obviously, Patrick Queen is going to cause the splash, but I think Jordan Brooks is a guy who can come in there and play that system, is both good in the run and the pass. You just worry about his durability a little bit, but otherwise, man, that guy's been great. There's the aforementioned Tyron Smith. Obviously, Jason Kelce retiring. We mentioned Derrick Henry. Looks like Fletcher Cox is retiring. And there's Xavier Howard as well. Okay.
We could spend time on him, but we don't need to.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right, my friend. So, all right. So let's transition over a little bit to the conundrum that is Justin Fields. So reports are that the Chicago Bears are either asking too much or there is no market for Justin Fields right now. I've even heard vague rumors that they're considering pivoting, keeping Fields and trading the number 1 pick, which I do not believe at all. Again, we have reached, for those of you who don't know, we have reached the silly season. Almost everything you hear right now is probably a lie. What has happened is we've cleared the combine. The draft boards are kind of set. Teams are pivoting towards free agency, and now it's time to say, okay, these are, if we, we're going to try to make some plans. We're going to do this, and if we don't get this guy, then here's our next best guy, and blah, blah, blah. And, man, it would be really great if this dude slid a little bit in the draft, right? And now you start to hear these rumors about, oh, well, I don't even like Drake May. He's going to slide all the way out of the first round or whatever. Everything you hear now is smoke. So don't go swearing by any of this stuff at this point. All right. So if I made you the GM of the Chicago Bears, which I apologize in advance, although it is a nice pay raise for you, what would you?
No, that's true.
Yeah. What would you? What are you thinking right now? Obviously, Caleb Williams is going to be the pick. What are you asking for Justin Fields?
I'm standing by my second and a fourth.
I mean, you would think, right?
Maybe a third at this point.
Man. And then
you start trying to plug him in somewhere, especially if Cousins goes to Atlanta, which we always heard about Fields was going to go there. Where's the market for him, though? If he goes to Minnesota, he's got Jefferson, but is Jefferson going to stick around and sign an extension if he's got Justin Fields to work with for a year? I don't know. It's a tough market out there.
It really is. I think it's fascinating to see what exactly the Bears are going to do here and how we're going to end up in a place where, do you start talking about picks into next season? Because, so when the Jets traded Sam Darnold, which I guess is the closest thing we could come to for this kind of trade, a player who's still functional but limited, they got a 2, 4, and a 6. But remember, the 6 was in the first year, and the 2 and the 4 was the following season. Look, the Bears don't have that many picks in this draft. I mean, they have 4 picks left. All of them up to pick 117, and then they're gonna go play some golf. So they're not even sticking around for day 3, basically. And so, do you take picks into next year? Do you say, okay, we'll trade you Fields for, let's say a 4 this year and a 2 next year?
I think that would definitely be an option. I mean, Trey Lance got a 4, and he was the third or not. He was a 3rd overall pick. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But from the Cowboys, he got a 4th. I could see that conceivably happen.
Yeah, me too.
Now, Fields has a larger body of work, but Fields' body of work isn't that stellar.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy about it is, they've really kind of just messed themselves up on all of that. Absolutely advertising that they're taking Caleb Williams, which of course they will, but man, that make for a tough deal there. So yeah, and of course, as I said, I think with the Bears, it's going to come down to, basically what they're willing to take for the price. So, all right, last big thing we've got here as we're doing a nice tidy 30 minutes here on this draft narrative special, as Mr. Boyd has to get himself to work. Let's talk about some compensatory picks. We had those handed out yesterday. 4 third-round picks handed out: Jacksonville, Philadelphia, the Rams, and the 49ers. 3 fourth-round picks: the 49ers again, the Bills, and the Ravens. And then a bunch of 5ths, bunch of 6ths. I will say the one thing that, I noticed as being a Jets fan, they upgraded one of our 7ths to a 6th. So now we have 2 6th-round picks, which is great. And we have 2 7th-round picks. Of course, the last 2 picks in the draft. The Jets will draft Mr. Irrelevant. So who is the next Brock Purdy for the New York Jets there? Darren.
You'll be buying a jersey.
Maybe I'll get Mr. Irrelevant, and he'll be amazing. 9 times
I
out
bet
of
we
10,
can get Mr. Irrelevant on the show.
Hey, maybe we can. That'd be great. I'm down for that. But yes, the Jets have the final 2 picks in the draft. Of course, they'll probably trade it away because, we can't have nice things. We're Jets. We're Jets fans. Can't be happy on draft day. That'd be weird. And every year we are, it doesn't work out for us. So that's even better. Okay, so so the draft order is set. Compensatory picks are handed out. We are going to begin to dive each week into some specific teams as I start building my little cards that I use that have all the information on there. It has, what the new coaching staff schemes, team needs, free agent moves, what picks they have, and basically any kind of strategies that we hear. So we'll start deep diving into your individual team, whatever team you happen to root for. And of course, as always, hit us up on the X at Sports Narrative for me, and of course at Darren Boyd 13 for Mr. Boyd if you want to talk some Dolphins. But open to any questions about your teams, anything you want to talk about. Happy to answer those questions for you. And as well as check us out on youtube.com/thesportsnarrative for the weekly shows. And also with Abundant TV, as this show will be posted up there very shortly. All right, Mr. Boyd, what final thoughts on this week as we get ready for free agency? What's the thing you look forward to the most?
Well, the next 96 hours should be exciting football news. I keep refreshing the X for any Adam Schefter information because players are getting restructured, getting extensions, getting cut left and right. Then, of course, the legal/illegal tampering period begins at 11 p.m. Central on Monday. So it always amazes me at 11:01 that Shefty brings out XYZ player got a $100 million contract. It was negotiated in 30 seconds, but that's beside the point.
Exactly correct. Yes, I think just keep in mind that, the man who's going to get the least amount of sleep in the next couple of weeks is Adam Schefter, and good on him. Hopefully he won't get pranked. And as well as don't forget to set your clocks forward on Saturday, or on Sunday night.
Worst day of the year.
Yeah, or Saturday night, I suppose it is. So
2 a.m. Sunday.
There it is. As we'll get that thing up and running, we get the time change, we leap forward, and we leap into free agency. So. With that bombshell, I think we are done here. Thank you to Mr. Boyd for a nice, tidy episode. Go get yourself to work. And until next week when we start deep diving into some teams and talking about what's happening.